Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today we're going to talk about getting SPS listed on a major exchange. This is a clip from the town hall, and you're going to hear Ali, who's a long-term business connection for the Splinterlands team, for specifically Aggie and for Matt, all the way back into 2019. There's a good amount of time in this town hall spent on essentially building the case that Ali is a strong business connection, business partner with deep ties within the Splinterlands community, supporting it since day one before it was anything. And it seems as though the time spent explaining that is really to ingratiate our community to him, since we haven't before met him. And with the hope and the intent that there might be I think maybe a bridge built or some trust extended, because they're planning on spending a good amount of SPS to get listed. We've talked about this for a long time, and this could be one of those inflection moments for Splinterlands. It could be an inflection moment for our economy, but it also could potentially be a real bust and a potential loss of value for our community. There's lots going on here. Let's listen to a minute of what is being proposed, and then let's talk about it. I hope you stick around for this one. Okay, so Ali's about to speak, and they've already been speaking for a good half an hour at this point, and they're like I said, they've introduced Ali. He's been there since 2019. He's been in communications and financially supportive of the team, the game, helping get it off the ground. Back when there was hundreds of players, all of that explanation and introduction was really brought to us in part, as I already said, to really help us understand who this guy is. Because the whole conversation is, look, can we give 20 million SPS? Can we give, $500,000, $1 million to Ali in order to make a deal happen with a major exchange so that we get listed on one of the big ones? And he specifically says, look, we're not looking at little exchanges. We've already got some of those. We're talking the biggest of the big. And he spends time talking about how now during the bear market, the fees for this sort of listing are cheaper because there's less tension, less FOMO, less excitement. Exchanges understand that business tokens are lower, and therefore buying power is lower. But the amount of tokens that might be needed could be bigger too. And so if you wait and the US dollar value is way through the moon on your token already, then that's not going to lower the buy-in price. There's a tension here. I want to hear what Ali has to say, and I want to speak more to it. This is a big moment. I'm both excited and potentially even nervous about something like this. So let's listen to what he has to say and then go further.
Yeah, and maybe let me clarify a couple parts, right? Like, we're not looking at small exchanges, right? Like, we're already on some pretty good exchanges. I mean, Huobi is one of them. And so we're looking at exchanges that are going to move the needle for the community, right? So we're not looking at, things that aren't in the top 10. Essentially, we want to focus on, fairly large, can drive a fair bit of volume, especially to early tokens. And part of what Aggie mentioned, some of these tokens might get dumped. I mean, like, we can't control what the exchange or what those marketing, promotions do. But what we are hoping is that this drives at least some new users, more access, and that the volume is significantly higher coming from their exchange than what could possibly be dumped, right? Which is on the high end, maybe a few $100,000 if we're talking about 20 million SPS, right?
Yeah, and are that 20 million, is that for like one listing, or is that a budget for multiple listings?
So it depends. It's not necessarily for one listing, and there's nothing that's been committed, as of yet. There are a few very strong exchanges that are providing very favorable terms right now that I've never seen before, and this is more, in part bear market, in part recognizing the size and strength of the Splinterlands ecosystem and community, where they're waiving off essentially like listing fees, and it's just a marketing fee, or like things like this, right? Or waiving the deposit fee, things like this. We're obviously, our goal is to stretch this as much as possible. It does get a little bit hard, obviously, as the token is around 3 cents, right? So if that grows a little bit, it increases the ability of what we can do with those dollars. But if it grows in line with Bitcoin price increasing, the exchange price probably is going up faster. So this is the challenge.
Yeah. And then I guess another thing is the expectation that the money would transfer out of the DAO and go to your account first, or is it just like a pre-approval so that the foundation can spend it and we would put it directly to the exchange?
Yeah, so absolutely not going to me. It's a pre-approval, right? So, once we have strong listings that we wanna go forward with, and we would still, make sure that a number of senior members internally are aligned, then we would essentially move forward with using those tokens as part of that pre-approval, and it would go directly then to whatever exchange that is.
Okay, so those are any other key thoughts that we ought to consider as we think through this proposal? What did we miss anything, or anything else that you'd want to share with this?
I do think that this is very critical that we move forward on this, right? Like, if we don't move forward on this now, essentially we're going to be moving forward on it at some point, unless we're not ever getting new listings, and that's a big problem, right? So if we're not getting listings on any more top 10 going forward because we don't want to move forward as a community, I think we've got a really big challenge growing this ecosystem, and the value of SPS growth on by leveraging some of that firepower from some of these exchanges.
Yeah. All right, guys. So
I'm going to stop it there. There a ton of things said there, and I want to speak to some of the main points that I'm hearing. The first is that we're talking top 10 exchange. He said that we're talking about maybe more than one partnership, more than one listing, but then also recognizing that the 20 million SPS that we're allegedly budgeting or considering budgeting for this sort of partnership would be stretched as best it can through the negotiations that happen. But that really, at this moment, it's not as if we have partnership waiting in the wings. If we agree to 20 million, we'll be on Binance. It's not that clear. It's not that transparent. It's more, if we had 20 million and we were SPS, which is, times 3 cents per SPS, $600,000. So 20 million SPS today at 3 cents a unit is $600,000 US. And you have to recognize that, as they said in there, you'd be putting these SPS, you'd be agreeing to some sort of terms with some sort of exchange. I doubt it's a Binance, but I do think I think they're probably being, the language, I'm trying to read between the lines, but the language being spoken implies significant exchange, and yet quote unquote top 10 exchange to me doesn't mean Binance. Like top exchange means Binance or Coinbase. This is a skewed piece of data because there can be all kinds of wash trading happening, but Binance is generally recognized as the biggest exchange in the world. Coinbase is significantly lower. I wonder if how much of that volume is legitimate. But then you get into Kraken and KuCoin, and as you can see in the 24-hour volume, there's massive drop-offs across the top four here, from 24 100,000 million billion, 24 billion, 100,000 million billion, yeah, all the way down to 980 million. Huge difference. And you're talking, that's top four. But then if you go into the top 10, right, it's like top 10 means, well, you're talking Binance US. These are massively smaller than what the top would be. And so I don't think we're talking, true Binance. I don't think we're talking Coinbase. What are we talking about? And what is the specific price? That's not known. That's not being shared. And that makes me apprehensive. they said at the end there that this isn't being given to Ali. This isn't like, let's transfer 20 million SPS to Ali and then wait and see what happens. But it feels that way. And I really want to see far clearer details, expectations. I want to understand how the SPS is being held in escrow, or is it being delivered? What does that look like? I don't want kind of, we trust Ali because he's been here for a few years and it's going to be fine. No, I want like, what's the deal? What's the exchange? You know, they talked about how they're going to, he specifically said, these tokens, some of these tokens may be dumped. Can't control that. And I get that, and I think that makes perfect sense. If you understand how this sort of thing would work, the exchange is really doing this because they're recognizing that once they list as a major exchange, if they're a bigger exchange, once they list, they would expect volume to spike and prices to increase as a result. That's traditionally what happens, especially with major exchanges. And as a result of that, you would expect the exchange to sell into that opportunity. That would make business sense from an exchange's standpoint, benefiting from their own listing and really positioning themselves to rinse and repeat with future tokens from other projects. And so you would expect that. But is that in our best interest? And would this spike exceed, would the new buying pressure exceed available through that exchange, exceed the selling pressure coming from the exchange? And he spoke to that a bit. He said significant volume from their exchange. Which exchange? A few $100,000 of the exchange buying pressure, like, is what he would expect from this token. So when we looked at these top exchanges, we're talking daily volume, 24-hour across all tokens. He speculated a couple $100,000 or a few $100,000 for SPS. That would be such a massive change from where we're at now. But it's all just speculation. It's all just a theory. Maybe he knows stuff that's not being made clear to us. Maybe he does know Binance would be willing to do X. Maybe he knows, right? Like, and it's just not being made clear because they don't want to make promises. They want to get our assurance. But I have a real hard time, I guess, signing off or endorsing or being excited about a project, a plan that I don't even understand. As much as the plan is really just, let's get listed. And I think listings are great. I think that would make more volume. I think that would draw new excitement. I think it would potentially make it easier to access our token. And one of the things I've said is that's a huge barrier. Access into SPS is a gigantic barrier for our future games growth. And I do think it makes a lot of sense that the price probably is lower today than it will be during the next bull run, both from the number of token standpoint probably, but also from the total US dollar value standpoint. Having said that, man, how could you not have reservations? Even if you're excited, even if you hear and believe Aggie and presumably Matt's excitement around partnering with Ali in this way, and you trust their confidence in him, and over the years that he's been here, already 4 years, I guess, partnering, really being on weekly business communications with these guys, and I guess helping Splinterlands become what it is today. It's still just, what is this partnership? Which exchange are we talking about? Without those details, how could one not have reservations? And so I just have to say, it is exciting. It might be game changing. If it was a massive listing and it brought all kinds of new volume to our token, we're talking about massive price swings. And we talk about the 24-hour volume on SPS right now is $200,000, right? It's like we're talking about doubling it, is what he's saying. Doubling it. Like a few $100,000 is what he said. So, man, that could be so insanely awesome. But the package isn't properly explained, and the variables are therefore unknown. I don't know what to make of it. I'm both excited and skeptical. What do you guys think? Which partnerships make sense? Which exchanges would be likely to be listed? I don't think, based on the tone provided, that it would be, top, one of the big top four, let's put it that way. But I don't know what that means. I don't know where that leaves us. Guys, this is huge though. This is something we've talked about for years, like for months and even years, like thinking through major listings. And that's always a moment where tokens see radical price appreciation and price movement. And people who have owned and accumulated before can really benefit. That could be our moment. So this is exciting. I can't wait to see more from this. What do you guys think in the comments below? Let me know. Have an amazing day. God bless.